Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Zealous Ideal Use 2453 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, would I be the arsehole if I broke things off with a guy because he wouldn't drive me home? Throwaway. I'll keep things simple. I, 21 female, have been going out with a guy, 23 male, for 2 months or so. We've been on maybe 4 or 5 dates. He lives in the town over from me. I live in a college town that relies mostly on bikes and buses for transportation. Most students don't have cars, including me. We made plans on Tuesday to go to this bar with mini golf in his town. He said we could meet at 7, but he couldn't pick me up as he got off work at 6. His town is about a 30-minute drive from mine, and that was fine, and I made arrangements to take the bus. Note that I've never been to this part of town before. Anyways, I take 2 buses and get there around 7:15, and we have fun. I drink a bit and he doesn't drink. I feel like this is important to mention since I assumed he wasn't drinking since he'd be driving me back home. Around 11 we decide to wrap things up, and he says goodnight and that we'll plan something later. I, confused, asked if he was driving me home. He said no, that he was too tired to after a 6-hour shift. Now I'm panicking a little, since he won't drive me and the buses don't go that late between our towns. I tell him that the buses aren't running anymore, and he sort of just shrugs it off. I asked him why he didn't drink then, and he said he just wasn't feeling it and had work tomorrow. The only option I had left was an Uber, so I tell him I'll take an Uber. The issue with the Uber is that the price was quite high and I don't have that much money anyways. He says okay and leaves after saying goodnight, which I felt was another red flag. We're in a public plaza kind of area, and I felt quite unsafe sitting there all alone at close to midnight. Wish he would have stayed until the Uber arrived at least. Luckily the rest of the night passed without incident, except me being like $50 poorer from the Uber. I've been thinking about it and I just felt very uncared for. Refusing to drop me off and not really caring about how I got home, and then letting me wait all alone for the Uber for 10 minutes in what felt like a shady area. So would I be the arsehole for not seeing a guy anymore for this reason? ETA to answer some questions I'm seeing pop up. I did not know the buses would not be running this late. The buses around my town run until 12 AM and I assumed wrongly that the buses between towns would also be running on that schedule. They don't and end at 10 PM. If I had known the buses between towns end at 10 PM, I would have ended the date earlier and gone home. I assumed he was going to drive me home because A, he only mentioned not being able to pick me up, and B, he's driven me back before on previous dates. 3, I'm not taking advantage of him, as I also pay for dates. If I had a car, I would have no problem driving to him. I was disappointed he didn't drive me back, but the real kicker to me was that he didn't wait for my Uber to show up. That was kind of the final nail in the coffin. Now for me, maybe there was miscommunication about the ride home expectations, but in some ways that wasn't the be all and end all of what I thought. It was what happened afterwards, that you was stranded, he was waiting for an Uber and he just decided, fuck it. I've worked a 6-hour shift, so therefore I'm off, which is concerning in itself of someone who's meant to care about you, right? And let's put it down, let's just say he was too tired to drive and he couldn't drive. It had been unsafe for him to do so. Hypothetical, air quotes, all that sort of stuff. You could still wait with the OP. Just like, sorry I can't drive you home, but let me wait with you and make sure you get home okay. Versus, see you later, good luck with that Uber, bye. Just wild. It just left me thinking, is he really that into OP? But meet Mort Boo Boo Beep who says, random name, I was at a show a few weeks ago and a group of girls I had just met like 20 minutes prior all waited for my Uber with me because it was late and nobody else was on the street. This guy's an ass. Glittery Dream says that's exactly what you should expect from decent people, even strangers. The guy's behavior was a huge red flag. No Salary says, girl, if a man can watch you struggle to get home late at night and not even pretend to care, he's not someone you need in your life. Ditch him. You deserve way better. Constant Summer says, wow, a whole 6-hour shift. Seriously, that's part-time. Another commenter says, he didn't drink. He didn't pay for her drinks or golf. Didn't want to pay for gas to drive her home or help her with an Uber. He's either the biggest cheapskate in the world or he's poor. He shouldn't be dating. So OP does come in with an update and says, I didn't expect so many comments on my last post, but they were appreciated. Comments from incels were disregarded and laughed at, including some guy who commented probably 15 plus times, but otherwise I got a lot of good advice. To address a few points. I originally thought he'd be driving me home since he'd done so once before when it was late, but it was in my town. This assumption was reinforced when he only mentioned not being able to pick me up, but nothing about dropping me off. If he had said he couldn't drive me back, I would have just budgeted differently or left earlier to make the bus. Buses around my town run until 12 AM, but the bus between towns stops running at 10 PM, which I hadn't known. I did not go in knowing the buses had stopped. If I knew he wasn't planning on driving me back, I would have double-checked about the bus schedules and paid more attention. I take the blame for not confirming with him about driving me back. I'm not really that upset that he couldn't drive me back, though I was in the moment. I did, however, expect some kind of concern over how I was going to get back, and at the very least, for him to stay until my Uber arrived. Also, for those who blamed me for getting stranded. I wasn't stranded. There was no question about the Uber, but I just would have preferred not to, as it put a dent in my finances. On the issue of me being a gold digger or taking advantage of him, I've paid for dates before. If I had a car, I would have driven to him. He was the one who suggested a location and a time for this date, so I had no problem catching 2 buses over, and in response to a few annoying comments about gender, if the roles were reversed, I would have driven him back. If I was too tired or didn't want to drive at night or something, there is no question that I would have waited for his Uber and paid half of it. In my opinion, that's just basic decency. I'm not really sure where the comments whining about equality were coming from, as I would have paid half and waited whether I was with a man or a woman. I think I've addressed the main points, so on to the update. So the date happened on Tuesday night. I took an Uber back and got home around midnight. He texted me around 20 minutes after I got home, asking if I got home safe. I didn't respond as I was exhausted and honestly just wanted to shower and sleep. Throughout Wednesday, he sent me a few memes in the morning and afternoon and then stopped texting. Wednesday evening, I posted my first post, and after that, later at night, he asked if I was mad at him and that he'd just been tired. I finally responded and told him I wasn't really mad that he didn't drive me home, especially since it's true, I didn't confirm. I was just disappointed since I wished he would have stayed for the Uber to show up at least. Like, did I wish he drove me home? Sure, but not really that big of a deal that he didn't. The part where he left me at midnight in an unfamiliar place was kind of the kicker for me. He's a lot bigger than I am, and I would just felt a lot safer with him there. Once again, he said he was just tired and wanted to go home and said I ended up okay and that it was fine. Honestly, if he had done a real apology, I probably would have given him another chance. When I didn't respond to what he said, he kind of moved on and said he already had a place to take me to next time. Some restaurant a few miles from his house. He said let's do a reservation at 8 PM on Saturday and then go out for drinks and then a movie. I kind of wanted to be petty and ask if I should be saving up for an Uber back already. But eventually I just told him that his actions from Tuesday has made me feel very uncared for and that I wasn't really interested in going out with him for a 6th date. He immediately started asking if I was serious and that if he had known it was such a big deal, he would have stayed for the Uber. This annoyed me since how did he not know it was a big deal? Why did it not occur to him in the first place that leaving me alone at midnight in an unfamiliar public plaza with bars everywhere might be an issue for me, and that he really liked me and didn't want to ruin things, etc, etc. He even promised to drive me home next time, but I kind of just wanted to wash my hands of this whole thing. I don't want him to feel forced into driving me, and I don't want him doing things only because he thinks he has to. And I don't want to be dating someone who doesn't even think twice about leaving me stranded somewhere unfamiliar at midnight, and then only texting me like an hour later. He still texts me, but I haven't opened those messages yet. Commodore says to OP, I would just reply, if you couldn't see that leaving a woman alone in a strange place in the middle of the night would make you an undesirable partner, perhaps you shouldn't be dating. And to answer your question, really, I'm no longer interested. Please stop reaching out to me. Accomplish says and quotes, if I knew you'd stop seeing me over it, I would have stayed for your Uber. And then says, okay, but you should have stayed because you cared and wanted me home safe, not because you lose pussy privileges when you don't. Sunshine and Murder says, you dodged a bullet. If he's this inconsiderate this early on, it's not going to get any better. Cut your losses. And there were some comments below this saying basically dating, the bar is in hell these days. And there was a few comments like that. And I just feel exactly the same. I mean, it just felt like basic courtesy, just waiting for that taxi, waiting with them till they get picked up. Not just, I hope you get your taxi. See ya, I'm going home. Just so absolutely wild. But what do you guys make of this situation? Maybe you got a different opinion on the matter. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from OK Barracuda 5060 and it says, am I the arsehole for buying my niece 2 pairs of glasses and letting her get contacts? I have a 12-year-old niece, Haley. Haley lives with her dad, stepmom and 4 younger siblings. 2 boys, 2 girls, don't know the exact ages, but they seem between 5 and 10. Her mum passed when she was 3. Haley's dad and stepmom are not well off. They live in a 3-bedroom house, so Haley shares a room with her stepsisters. The kids get 1 pair of shoes, reuse school supplies until they are falling apart, and if their clothes still fit, they don't get new school clothes. I'm doing a lot better, but I refuse to help him with money because if I give him money with the direct instructions to get Haley some decent shoes or a nice jacket, I expect the money to be used on Haley, not split between all 5 kids. He also dislikes me because he blames me for CPS investigating him and his wife for leaving the kids home alone every day. Haley stays with me after school and sleeps over a few nights a week because I won't drop her off if there's not an adult present. And I told her not to get on the bus under any circumstances, so they can't tell her I wanted her to take the bus home that day. Haley and 2 of her step-siblings needed glasses. Nobody was able to take Haley for an eye exam and to get glasses, so they asked me to take her and gave me $100 with the instructions to get the cheapest pair we find. I was driving Haley to the eye doctor, and she told me she really wanted contacts, but her dad said no. I talked to the receptionist, and they were able to get her in for a contact fitting that day. After a contact appointment, we checked out the other glasses and she found 2 pairs that she really liked, so I told her to get both. I took her back after school a few days later and picked up a few boxes of contacts. The new glasses came in a few days ago and she loves them, but her dad is furious about the glasses. Then he found out about the contacts. I guess Haley was keeping them in her backpack and never told him about it. So he told her she gets to keep 1 pair of glasses and everything else has to stay at my house because he's sick of me and Haley rubbing her stuff in her step-siblings' faces. Haley responded by packing most of her stuff and walking to my house. Now she's refusing to go home. CPS came for another investigation and was told by the kids that Haley doesn't live there anymore, which is not helping my brother-in-law's case. Now my brother-in-law wants me to make Haley come back and stop spoiling her so she won't rub it in her siblings' faces anymore. Her rubbing it in their faces means she puts both pairs of glasses on her dresser, but it wasn't fair because the other kids could see it. Am I the arsehole for getting her contacts and 2 pairs of glasses? Commenter says, not the arsehole. Glasses and contacts are medical devices needed to see. You're a great aunt for making sure your niece is taken care of. Chocolate Chip Wizard says, you realize that your brother-in-law and his wife are collecting a Social Security survivor benefit check for caring for your niece, right? If she's staying with you, he should not be claiming that check. Bernie Doodle Lover says, not the arsehole, can Haley live with you? OP says yes. Organic Start says, take her on permanently OP. Not the arsehole, they can't afford apparently, not even the other 4 kids. No Proof says, not the arsehole, sounds like you should also file for full custody. OP says they won't give it to me willingly, and they're in the middle of a CPS investigation at the moment, so it would make officially getting custody tricky. CPS is aware that she's currently staying with me, and that she was previously sleeping over 3 to 4 days a week, was here every day after school, and came over most weekends to avoid being home with 4 young children. OP then posted to a subreddit that was called Ask Docs, which is about asking doctors and saying what is wrong with my niece's stomach. And it said my niece is 12 years old. She's pretty tiny, 4'8", 75 pounds, and has ADHD and type 1 diabetes. For the past month and a half or so, she's constantly complaining about her stomach hurting. Her appetite's decreased, she's more tired than usual. She either has diarrhea or she's constipated, and when she has to go to the bathroom, she really has to go. We've been to the doctor 3 times. They did an ultrasound on her stomach which showed inflammation around her large intestine. Then she did blood tests and stool tests. She tested negative for every virus and infection. OP then gave a bunch of stats about blood count, etc. Then continued, the doctor said it's probably IBS. and that she may be getting her period, which could be triggering it or making it worse, but I just have a feeling that something's wrong. She's staying home from school again today because she just doesn't feel good, and Tylenol isn't helping. I don't know what to do at this point. Edit, we're officially adding vomiting as a symptom. Opie added an update to that post and says, we've been in the hospital since Saturday. My niece got a colonoscopy on Monday and they said she has moderate to severe ulcerative colitis across her entire large intestine. They gave her a blood transfusion. Now they're starting her on a steroid. When she starts to respond to the steroids, they put her on something that can be used longer term. Opie then adds another update and says, Haley has been in the hospital since Saturday for either ulcerative colitis or Crohn's. Her health insurance pretty much only lets her go to the county hospital and medical centers, and even this is going to get expensive. On top of Haley's stomach situation, she also has type 1 diabetes and ADHD. The ADHD is currently not being treated. We live 20 minutes away from one of the best children's hospitals in the country for both GI and diabetes. They also have a great psych department and an ADHD clinic. This will be covered under my insurance. 35 minutes in the other direction is another world-renowned children's hospital that I would be able to send her to. I sat Haley's dad down the other day and showed him how much I was paying each month for Haley between her health insurance premiums, her insulin, monitor and pump, her EpiPens, doctor's appointments, etc., and told him that I refuse to continue to pay out the arse for her to receive medical care that is subpar at best when, if I was her guardian, she would get some of the best care possible for less than what I'm paying now. After a long discussion and a lot of back and forth, he agreed to give me guardianship of Haley. We started the process yesterday. She will live with me, but will see her dad every other weekend and holiday. We talked to Haley about it today. She is very excited to officially live with me. Commenter says, your sister's husband seems like a real piece of work, and you're not the arsehole for wanting better for your niece. You're the hero. The commenter says, this is like the best outcome for Haley. Should have known says agreed. It's one thing to care for a child, but it's not the same as being able to take care of a child. By doing this, Dad shows his daughter that he loves her enough to let another family member step in where he can't. It takes a real man to do what's right by his child instead of what's easy. Another commenter who was downvoted says, okay, you're using your wealth to take guardianship. You didn't need to do this in order to offer the better treatment. You made him choose between having legal guardianship and better care. If there were changes you wanted to facilitate, you could have and still has the responsibility not to mention legal power of decision making up to him, unless you had a real reason to want him to relinquish it. I think this is either half-baked rage bait or being written by the other party. Opie replies saying I did. If I get guardianship, I'm able to put Haley on my insurance. Putting Haley on my insurance gives her access to world-class medical care for less than what I'm currently paying. Speaking of me paying for medical care, I already pay for Haley's health insurance premiums, her insulin, her glucose monitors and insulin pumps, her glasses and contacts, doctors' copays, labs and everything else that comes up. Additionally, I contribute towards her father's mortgage. I occasionally help with utilities. I've sent grocery gift cards to the house before. This man is not able to provide for his daughter, and I was sick of paying this much for her to still not be adequately cared for. So I sat him down, showed him all that I was doing, and told him to do it himself and take care of his kid, or give her to me and let me do it. I'm not going to pay for subpar healthcare, inadequate nutrition, cramped living spaces, etc. anymore. Man, whenever there's kids in stories, it absolutely tears me to pieces. I know there's other people, but like 12 years old, dealing with type 1 diabetes, ADHD, ulcerative colitis, dealing with all the family drama in between where she feels like she can't even put on her glasses on her own dresser without causing problems. You know, it's a lot for anyone to deal with, let alone a preteen, right? I think it'd be fair to say that the majority of the comments were just happy for the kid to get out of that situation and to be properly cared for, and saying well done to Opie at the same time. There were some other comments going along the lines of that downvoted one who was saying you're using your wealth to take the guardianship, etc. Other people saying yes, but it might have been necessary. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.